Thank you. Good afternoon. And Sarah, thank you very much for including me with this distinguished, honorable group of people this whole afternoon, this program. It's really a privilege for me and an honor to be here with a program with Senator Cruz, with Representative Meadows, with Representative DeSantis, with the victims who have now shared such moving stories. And I know we still have one more left after me. And with Richard Heidemann, a friend and a lawyer who has devoted so much time and energy to this cause. As Sarah said, I practice here in DC together with my father, Nathan Lewin, and in May 2000, we filed a lawsuit in federal court in Chicago on behalf of the family of David Boyne, a 17-year-old Brooklyn-born American citizen who was killed in May 1996 by Hamas gunmen while waiting at a bus stop near Beit El, a Jewish community approximately 10 miles north of Jerusalem. Two Palestinians in a car opened fire that day on a group of civilians as they sped past, and David, a student at a nearby yeshiva whose family had moved to Jerusalem when he was 7, was shot in the head. The suit that we filed against the gunmen and against several U.S.-based charities and think tanks, including the Holy Land Foundation for Relief and Development and the Islamic Association for Palestine, became the landmark case that established the right of victims of terror to sue and collect civil damages from domestic-based entities and individuals who provide material support to terrorist groups. Our case was filed in May 2000, more than a year before 9/11. But the events of September 11, 2001 marked a turning point in our litigation. When we first filed the case, the defendants responded by filing motions to dismiss and motions for Rule 11 sanctions. All those motions were denied. But the defendants then requested what is called an interlocutory appeal. Ordinarily, cases proceed through trial to the district court, and only then afterward go up to the Court of Appeals. In our case, however, the defendants believed that our interpretation of the Anti-Terrorism Act was so novel. After all, if you think about it, how could you hold these U.S.-based charities civilly liable for damages for a terror attack that occurred 6,000 miles away? So, that is such a far-out interpretation of the Anti-Terrorism Act that they requested that the Court of Appeals review and approve the legal argument before the parties would go through the time and expense of the trial. So we consented to the interlocutory appeal, and the Seventh Circuit agreed to hear the case. All the briefs were filed, and the oral argument was set for September 25, 2001, exactly 2 weeks after 9/11. The world changed on 9/11, as did the significance of our lawsuit. On September 24th, the day before the oral argument, the Seventh Circuit issued an order requesting that the Department of Justice weigh in on our legal theory. It was clear that our case was no longer just about a matter between the Boynes and these charities. Rather, if our legal theory was upheld, as it ultimately was, the court recognized that it would be used in the future by other American victims of terror seeking some measure of justice. And indeed, the Arab Bank case that Sarah Singer talked about is based on the Boyne precedent. Sadly, as Sarah pointed out as well, for American victims of terror attacks committed in Israel and the disputed territories, civil litigation, like the Boyne case in the United States, rather than criminal prosecution, has proven to be the only path to justice. Under the Anti-Terrorism Act, the killing of any U.S. citizen or citizen of the United States while that citizen is outside the United States is a capital crime, and it's subject to the death penalty. Since the Oslo Accords were signed in 1993, 69 Americans have been killed in terrorist attacks in Israel. Not one, as you've heard, not a single perpetrator of any of those attacks, however, has ever been indicted by the Department of Justice, much less extradited to or prosecuted by the United States. Why? 14 years ago, this is in August 2002, 14 years ago, in an op-ed that appeared in the Washington Post, my father detailed our efforts at that time, in 2002, in the Boyd case, to try and convince the Department of Justice to indict the terrorists responsible for David Boyd's death. As I mentioned, Hamas took credit for that drive-by shooting, and two men were identified as the perpetrators, Khalil Tawfiq al-Sharif and Amjad Hanawi. A little more than 1 year after David Boyd's death, al-Sharif set up a bomb on Ben Yehuda Street, a pedestrian mall in downtown Jerusalem, killing himself and 7 civilians, including an American, and wounding 192 others. Hanawi, in contrast, was arrested by the Palestinian Authority, and in February 1998, the PA, not the Israelis, but the Palestinian Authority brought Hanawi to trial. In the presence of a U.S. State Department observer, Hanawi confessed to driving the car used in the attack that killed David Boyd. According to the State Department's report describing that proceeding, the presiding judge, and I quote, asked Hanawi whether he was coerced to give the confession, and he answered in the negative, close quote. Hanawi was found guilty by the Palestinian court of, quote, participation in murder, close quote, and he was sentenced to 10 years of hard labor. Within a few months, however, Hanawi was back on the street, walking freely. By November 2005, when the IDF went to arrest him, Hanawi had risen in the ranks, and he was serving as the Hamas commander in Nablus. He died in a gunfight with the IDF when the Israeli soldiers attempted to arrest him. The Boyd sought for years before his death to get the United States Department of Justice to prosecute Hanawi. In 1997, they wrote to then Attorney General Janet Reno asking that Hanawi be charged and extradited to the United States. In March 1999, my father testified before the Foreign Operations Subcommittee of the Senate Committee on Appropriations and asked why there was no uproar in the United States over the failure to seek justice for the cold-blooded murder of a young American. Mark Richard, a Deputy Assistant Attorney General who testified at the same hearing, then invited my father to a meeting in his office in April 1999 to discuss the matter. At the meeting, Richard told my father that the department's only reason for not prosecuting Hanawi was its concern that Hanawi's confession may have been coerced. But Hanawi's confession was before a Palestinian court, not an Israeli court, and the State Department official had witnessed the proceedings, during which Hanawi had confirmed to a Palestinian judge that his confession was voluntary. Furthermore, officials with the Israeli Ministry of Justice had informed us that they had provided the FBI with copies of a statement from Hanawi's brother that corroborated Hanawi's role in the killing, and one from a neighbor of Hanawi who said that Hanawi had told him that he was, quote, a member of the Islamic al-Qassam troops of Hamas, and that they did the attack in the name of Hamas, close quote. Despite that evidence, and despite numerous additional letters, an inquiry from Senator Arlen Specter, and additional meetings with DOJ officials in July 2000 and again in August 2001, the United States refused to file criminal charges against Hanawi. The U.S. government never even issued an indictment. 14 years have passed since my father penned his Washington Post op-ed, and tragically, nothing has changed. Nothing, that is, except the number of American citizens killed in terrorist attacks in Israel and the disputed territories. That number has nearly doubled, from 36 in 2002 to 69 today. Make no mistake, each and every one of those American citizens was killed by an individual, by a terrorist who deliberately, calculatedly, maliciously, heartlessly targeted innocent civilians. The terrorists responsible for these murders wanted to kill innocent people. They planned and plotted to kill innocent men, women, and children. These deaths were deliberate. When the Office of Justice for Victims of Overseas Terrorism, OVT, was created, then Attorney General Alberto Gonzales noted that prosecuting these terrorists for their attacks on Americans, quote, shall continue to be a high priority, close quote, for the U.S. He said, and quote, our commitment to these victims is as strong as our dedication to bringing these terrorist attackers to justice, close quote. So why then does it feel as though the terrorists are more determined to succeed in carrying out their acts of terror than our government is determined to prosecute them for it? In February of this year, as you heard, Congressman DeSanto organized a remarkable hearing, and Arnold Roth, as Richard noted, the father of Malcolm Roth of blessed memory, testified at that hearing before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee's Subcommittee on National Security. Mr. Roth described how his 15-year-old daughter, Malki, was killed by a suicide bomber in August 2001 in the Sbarro Pizzeria bombing in Jerusalem. In addition, Mr. Roth detailed how the chief planner of that attack, a woman named Ahlan Tamimi, confessed to the Sbarro Pizzeria murders, not only at her trial before 3 Israeli judges, but again, repeatedly, in front of large crowds of college students, religious functionaries, politicians, and via mass media and social media, and her weekly television program. Ahlan Tamimi is proud of the Sbarro murders, and she wants the world to know of her involvement. In several videos, she can be heard describing her mounting excitement and joy as she learned of the growing death toll from news reports shortly after the bombing. Ahlan Tamimi was arrested, indicted, tried, and imprisoned by the Israelis. She was sentenced to 16 terms of life imprisonment, but served barely 8 years in prison before being released as part of the Shalit exchange in October 2011. After her release, she was sent to Jordan, the country where she was born, where she lived most of her life, and where her parents and siblings reside. There she became an honored celebrity. According to Mr. Roth's testimony, Ahlan Tamimi's weekly television program is broadcast every Friday from a studio in Jordan to hundreds of thousands of households around the world, including the U.S. As Mr. Roth poignantly noted in his testimony, Ahlan Tamimi is able, through her television program and social media, to spread, quote, her message of hateful triumph, extreme bigotry, and redemptive power of murder. It has been 15 years since Malki Roth was murdered, and 5 years since Ahlan Tamimi was released. Why has the Department of Justice still failed to indict Ahlan Tamimi? Arnold Roth testified here on Capitol Hill on February 2nd, 2016. That was the date of the hearing, February 2nd. A mere 6 days later, on February 8th, 2016, the Department of Justice issued an indictment against the terrorists, but not against Tamimi. Instead, they issued an indictment against Sayyaf, also known as Nisreen Assad Ibrahim Bahar, an Iraqi citizen and the wife of Abu Sayyaf, a senior leader of ISIS until his death last year. According to the criminal complaint, Sayyaf and others conspired to provide material support to ISIS, and that conspiracy resulted in the death of American citizen Kayla G. Mueller in Syria in February 2015. You may remember the young American who went and was taken hostage by ISIS and ended up being held captive as a sex slave for one of the ISIS commanders. So according to an FBI agent affidavit filed with the indictment, Sayyaf admitted that she and her husband were responsible for maintaining custody of Mueller and other captives. Sayyaf said she thought Mueller was being held for ransom or some type of prisoner exchange. When Assistant Attorney General for National Security John P. Garland announced Sayaf's indictment for this murder in Syria, he said, quote, "Sayaf is currently in Iraqi custody for her terrorism-related activities. We fully support the Iraqi prosecution of Sayaf and will continue to work with the authorities there to pursue our shared goal of holding Sayaf accountable for her crimes. At the same time," this is all part of his quote, "these charges reflect that the U.S. justice system remains a powerful tool to bring to bear against those who harm our citizens abroad. We will continue to pursue justice for Kayla and for all American victims of terrorism." Close quote. The assistant director in charge, Paul M. Abadi of the FBI's Washington field office, added, and this was his quote, "The criminal complaint is another step toward achieving justice in the case. We will always be relentless in our efforts to identify, locate, and arrest those who are responsible for the kidnappings and murders of American citizens." In a Washington Post article that described the Sayaf indictment for its murder committed in Syria, the article noted, quote, "The Iraqis took custody of Sayaf, and it is unlikely that she will ever be transported to the United States. Still," and the quote from the article, "still federal prosecutors and FBI agents felt that charges in the case might bring some measure of comfort to the Mueller family," officials said, close quote. And the article continued, quote, "There also were concerns," officials said, "that Sayaf could eventually be released in a prisoner exchange. The federal charge will allow the FBI to arrest her should that happen," close quote. Think about that for a minute. 6 days after a hearing in which the Department of Justice is strongly criticized for failing to indict a single terrorist responsible for killing American citizens in Israel or in the West Bank, the DOJ issues an indictment. Who do they indict? They indict a woman who you recognize may never actually be brought to the United States to stand trial. And yet, despite the fact that the terrorist may never be extradited to the U.S., the DOJ concludes that an indictment for a murder of a U.S. citizen in Syria is beneficial. Why? Well, first, the DOJ officials explained, because the indictment may, quote, "bring some measure of comfort to the victim's family." And second, because if Sayaf were eventually be released in a prisoner exchange, the indictment will enable the FBI to arrest her. What about Ahmed, who murdered an American citizen in Israel, in Jerusalem? Would not her indictment bring some measure of comfort to the Roth family? Wouldn't Tamimi's indictment also, to quote these officials, reflect that the U.S. justice system remains a powerful tool to bring to bear against those who harm our citizens abroad? Wouldn't a criminal complaint against Ahmed Tamimi be, quote, another step toward achieving justice in Malki's case? Wouldn't indicting Tamimi demonstrate that the FBI and the DOJ really are, and quote, will always be relentless in their efforts to identify, locate, and arrest those who are responsible for the kidnapping and murder of American citizens? And finally, since Tamimi has been released in a prisoner exchange, wouldn't indicting her enable the FBI to arrest her and thereby shut down her ability to spread her hateful message through television and social media? The rationale provided to explain the Sayaf indictment for murder in Syria applies equally to Ahmed Tamimi for murder in Israel. If the justification were applied uniformly, DOJ would similarly file charges against terrorists who harm Americans in Israel. But it appears that all victims are not equal. DOJ appears willing to issue indictments against terrorists who kill Americans in places like Syria, but not against those who kill Americans in Israel. Why? During the hearing in February, Brad Whitman, Deputy Assistant Attorney General, National Security Division, testified that his department was investigating the cases of the terrorists who had been released as part of the Gilad Shalit deal. But how much time does DOJ require for those investigations? The Shalit exchange occurred 5 years ago, in October 2011. The terrorists who were released as part of that deal who have American blood on their hands were, like Hamid, tried, convicted, and sentenced in Israeli courts. The incriminating evidence that was used in their trial is undoubtedly available to the Americans. If that evidence was sufficient to convict those terrorists in Israel, then surely it must be sufficient to warrant their indictment here in the U.S. As the Washington Post article describing the own side of indictment is clear, there is a benefit to filing charges against terrorists, even if those terrorists are never ultimately brought to the U.S. to stand trial. And that benefit applies regardless of where the terrorist attack occurs. The U.S. should therefore promptly bring charges against those terrorists like Hamid, who were released as part of the Shalit deal and who have American blood on their hands. It is high time for the United States Department of Justice, as we've been saying, recognize the truth, speak the truth, act on the truth, and pursue justice by indicting the terrorists who kill or harm American citizens.